Harihi Om. Harihi Om. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye. Om Sinduraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Maulisfurataranayaka Shekharam Smitamukhi Mapina Vakshuruham Panibhyam Malipurna Ratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhratim Saumyam Ratnaghatastha Raktacharanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Om Dhyaye Nityam Mahesham Rajatagirinibham Charuchandravatasam Ratna Kalpojvalangam Parashumrgavara Bhitihastam Prasannam Padmaseeram Samantat Stutamamaraganaihi Vyaghrakritim Vasanam Vishwadyam Vishwabijam Nikhilabhayaharam Panchavaktram Trinetram. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham geetamritam mahat.
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकः पाण्डवाश्च किं कुर्वत् सञ्जय। श्रीभगवान् उवाच क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वयुपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्तोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धि मा स्थिता जनकादयः लोकसंग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि। प्रकृतिः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा कर्ता अहमिति मन्यते। इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ विवस्थितौ तयोर्न वशमागच्छेत् तो हि यस्य परिपन्थिनौ। अर्जुन उवाच अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वाष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः। श्री भगवान उवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुण समुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्धेनमिह वैरिणम्। धूमेनाव्रियते वह्नि यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदमावृतम्। तस्मात् त्वमिन्द्रियाण्यादौ नियम्य भरतर्षभ पाप्मानं प्रजिह्योनं ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्। इन्द्रियाणि पराण्याहुः इन्द्रियेभ्यः परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः यो बुद्धेः परतस्तु सः। एवं बुद्धिः परं बुद्ध्वा संस्थभ्यात्मानमात्मना जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो कामरूपं दुरासदम्।
Namaste, everyone. Yes. Acha, where were we? Um,
23. We finished 23.
we finished 23. Yes. Acha. So let us read. So last time we started this new thing of you will go in sequence. Does anyone remember who is next in sequence?
Chetas probably.
Chetas. Very good.
I think instead of Chetas, maybe I'll go. He says he doesn't.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I can get English person.
So I'll
Next time.
start with 24. Maybe we'll try to convince him for the next time.
No problem. No. Let him take his time. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I'm reading 24.
Mhm.
Sankalpa prabhavan kama tyaktya sarva naseshatah manasai vendriyam gramam viniyamya samantatah.
Very nice. So the main central point, kaman tyaktva sarvan kaman tyaktva asheshatah. So giving up all the desires without, that is wholly, without any piece being left. Asheshatah. No reminder. And how are those kamas being generated? How are those desires? Sankalpa Prabhavan. They are born of mental construction. This is an important part of yoga theory, philosophy itself that Bhagavan is referring to. Manasaiva indriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. These, how can one control these? How can one give up without a trace? That is by through the mind. Manasa iva indriya gramam. That itself being the driven by the senses. Viniyam, yeah, by controlling. Niyam samantataha, on all sides. Right? So, sankalpa iti, giving up or renouncing desires born of mental constructions, all of them, leaving not a trace behind, no remainder. Asheshataha, controlling with a discriminating mind. Viniyam, yeah, or having control. That's actually in the past participle sense. Manasa eva indriya gramam samantataha, on all sides. So, parityajya sarvan asheshatah nirlepena Kimcha manasa eva viveka yuktena indriya gramam indriya samudayam viniyamya niyamanam krutva samantatah samantat. Okay. So for this, it may be useful to recall a little bit of Yoga Sutra philosophy. So in Yoga Sutra, a very beautiful analysis is given, which is what is the nature of the mind? So nature of the mind is actually to have what are called fluctuations or vrittis. The nature of the mind is changeable. So if we just sit for 2 seconds and we try to focus on any one thing, immediately we see the nature of the mind is to change. It is somehow there is something pushing us away from focusing it. Will everyone agree with that? Right? So the inability of us to maintain an unmoving state of the mind is literally the nature of the mind. Okay. So if we sit at any instant and we see a change arise, that is the mind. Know that to be the mind. And then what is this mind then? It is nothing but this aggregate of changes, the aggregate of thoughts. In yoga philosophy, this change is given a technical term called vritti. And so the second verse after Atha Yoga Nushasanam, second verse is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The restraint or bringing to rest, more appropriately, these fluctuations or changes is called yoga. Right? So the natural state of the mind is to be fluctuating. The ability or the fruit and also the process, you may say, of bringing those fluctuations to rest is called yoga. Okay. So now then it goes on to say, well, what are these vrittis? Right? What are these fluctuations? Are they all the same? So the whole of Yoga Sutra is an analysis of these. So there, the first thing we will learn is that these vrittis are actually of 2 types, klishta and aklishta, what we may say tainted and untainted. And in some sense, this may help us distinguish what is the difference between the mind of a jnani and an agyani. Right? The jnani's mind is always having aklishta vrittis, untainted fluctuations. Those fluctuations are not tainted by ignorance. But the mind of the Ajnani also has fluctuations, but they are bound by ignorance, you may say so. They have a coloring of that ignorance. Okay. So then Bhagavan goes on to describe in the Yoga Sutra, there is a description of Patanjali of the various types of vrittis, so that we can make sense of our world experience. So right now, we are all having some world experience, correct? Right? We are hearing something, we are having some concepts. So yoga philosophy tells us what is the nature of this world experience, right? It gives a classification. It says, these are the ways in which you are experiencing the world. These are the ways in which those fluctuations of the mind are tainted. And these are the ways in which you can remove those taints and bring the mind to that state, which is called yoga or samadhi. Then the way the mind sees the world will be altered forever. So then the way the mind sees the world is like a 180 degrees, 360 degree shift from how it saw the world before. And so now what are these vrittis? So pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, smriti, nidra. 5. Pramana is valid means of knowing, valid means of cognition. So yoga does not deny the world experience, but it says there is a valid way in which we can perceive the world. Viparyaya. There are ways in which we perceive the world mistakenly. So a classic example given in Vedanta is at night you walk by and you see a rope and you think it's a snake, right? So you have mistaken notion, right? Viparyaya. It is called mithya jnanam, false knowledge. Or one sees a post on which something is laid at the dark in the garden and you think it's a robber, right? Correct? So these things do happen. So viparya, pramana viparya, vikalpa. Vikalpa is fantasy. So the nature of the mind is to have fantasies. So sometimes we dream, maybe, and as example, we'll say, maybe this person dreams I can be very rich, or I may have some, a peaceful time, I'll own a big house, whatever it is. They're all fantasies because they are not borne out by reality at this instant, right? So anything, they're not necessarily bad. Again, in yoga, the notion is not to assign so much a moral judgment on any of these, but to observe that these are characteristics of the mind. So yoga philosophy is a science, very objective approach. Okay, we don't want to get into the business of is a vikalpa good or not. The point is, if you have a mind that exists, it has vikalpa, right? Pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra. Nidra is sleep. What is the beauty of sleep? It is the absence of fluctuations, right? In deep sleep, there are no objects presented to the mind. The mind doesn't have any object occupying it. But that nidra, although very close to samadhi, is not the same. One may say that samadhi is the experience of nidra with full awareness, with full illumination, with complete wakefulness, with complete awareness. And so, sometimes, like Bhagavan Swami Rama has said, it is a sleepless sleep. Okay? Like a Zen koan. What is sleepless sleep? Right? That is samadhi, that complete awareness. So then, smrti, another property of the mind is that we have memories. So we've talked about this a lot, how the thread of eye creates our memories. And so we think back. So one fluctuation that the mind experiences is recollecting something that happened, that was experienced previously, is brought again into our frame of thinking at that instant. So why is all this important? So the point is that all these vrittis, they have a root. They arise from something. Okay. And what Yoga Sutra tries to tell us is, if you want to bring these vrittis to a rest, right? The vrittis we must first understand their nature, right? And the root of these vrittis are samskaras. So now, the mental activity is only known in two states. We can only know mental activity in the waking state or the dream state, correct? Because by definition, what is the problem with the nidra state or characteristic?
No object.
There's no activity. Right? So out of the three, two only we can say, we can observe the mental activity. Now, where does this mental activity come from? We said, because scientific approach, right? If I suppose if you've gone to garden for weeding, right? If you just pull the weed from the top and you don't get the root out, what happens?
It will grow again.
It will grow again. Next time there is some rain, it will give a new shoot. Right? These samskaras are exactly like that. They are tendencies. Okay? And they will keep giving shoots like this, beautiful new ones. Some will be like flowers, some will be like weeds. Right? Now, there is one particular samskar, and that is this samskar of the samadhi. That if the mind is brought to rest once through whatever effort, that samskar will exterminate systematically all the other samskars. This is an important point to understand. So then what happens is, with the root, all those samskars are taken out. They are, or you may say, that's one analogical way. Another way is that the seeds are burnt. Okay. So after all, if a seed is burnt, it cannot sprout, right? Right? If I take some seeds and throw them outside, if I put water, if they're alive, if they are still viable seeds, they will give rise. But if I toast them on the fire, and then their germinative properties are killed, correct? And then if I throw them out, nothing will happen, right? This is the state of those great three gurus I talked about. Their mind has burnt the seeds of all the samskaras, right? Because through repeated application of this samadhi samskar, it literally squashes and removes the other samskars. This is the wisdom of the Yoga Sutra. Now let's go back to this verse, because this sankalpa, so through
Shankar, I
yes,
have a question.
yes,
Samskar.
yes.
What's a samskar?
What is a samskar? So think of it as, I think I was talking this analogy of a plant, right? Think of it as the seed of a thought. The very original root of the thought, right? And this is a slightly different, the word samskar has different meanings. This is the technical meaning in the Yoga Sutra context. Now, in the general Hindu way of life, if we take the meaning sanskar, we say there are 16 samskars, Shodash samskar, starting with Garbhadanam, right? Conception of the child, Pumsavanam, these are Vedic sanskars. Then after that, Simantornayanam, etc. Namakaranam, Annaprashanam, there are like the 16 of them. Karnavedanam, Chudakaranam, Annaprashanam, Vedarambham, right? And then Samavartanam, Vivaha, Antyeshti. 16 of these are there, right? And they are also very powerful samskars. We should never forget them, right? They are meant to be the recommended samskars through which the mind will get purified. If we do each of these samskars in a ritual way, they help in purifying the mind. That is why they are special samskars, right? Normally, when we say somebody, oh, you must have very good samskars, that means they say this child has an attraction to the spiritual texts, has an attraction to God. It loves to do, this child likes to do the pujas. It takes a delight in the name of the God, in the Lord. It delights in bhajans. Then we say this child has good samskars. That means previously this mind had been trained in that procedure. Now it has taken birth to probably execute the last round of, excursion in Bhuloka, right? And so it is experiencing these sanskars of past. But in yoga, it has a more special meaning of nothing but if I take a thought and I trace it back to its root, that subtle movement is the sanskar. Now, this sanskar is not easy to see in some sense, because it corresponds to the state of mind called prajna, the state of consciousness called prajna, which is a very deep sleep state. It is in the deep, now in modern psychology, we may call it the unconscious. Okay. Now, how do we get aware of the unconscious? Very difficult, actually. But we know, and I'm here now, I'm using some words which are, can be a bit confusing, but let us say we have ego in the waking state, right? This we are aware of. Okay. Then we say we have some subconscious desires. Subconscious, by this I mean things that pop up in dreams, right? Now, there is a whole great psychological theory of dream analysis. I think Freud started this probably, or I mean, at least in modern Western psychology, but it's been probably going there for a long time. So what people try to say is, by understanding what I think of in dreams, does it shed any light on how I'm behaving in the conscious, fully awakened state, correct? Right? And Yoga Sutra says, yes, there is no doubt about it. These samskaras will play out in different levels. They will play out in your waking state, they'll play out in your dream state, but their root lies in something we call the unconscious state. Unconscious is a bad word in a sense from a Vedic and Vedantic perspective, because truly speaking, we can better to think of unaware, meaning that the mind, waking mind is still not capable of accessing that state. Does that make sense? Because when you go to sleep, it's shut off, right? The mind is shut off.
Yeah.
Consciousness is still there. It is not changing, but the mind is not aware of that consciousness. Okay, that stage is just like the light bulb got turned off. Now the light bulb will come on in the morning. So then, what Bhagavan is indicating here is a long explanation for a simple verse, but sankalpa. So he says that your desires, O Arjuna, they come from somewhere deep down, right? And you must understand what makes me. The sankalpa also has an interesting double meaning sometimes. Normally, when we say sankalpa, if you are doing a puja, right, you start with hands like this, say Bhamo Pata Samasta, right? This is a formal sankalpa. Sankalpa is a resolve, okay? Or you get up in the morning and you tell your parents, I'm going to school. That's a sankalpa also, right? Or you say, I want to be a scientist. I want to go to college. These are all sankalpas, right? Those are mundane sankalpas. This sankalpa is a religious sankalpa, right? But the point of sankalpa is to focus the mind. I am going to achieve this activity. I am going to put forth all the effort to this activity. I'm not going to get disturbed from this activity. I will complete this activity, right? That is a sankalpa. Now he says, through the effect, the effect of those sankalpas is these desires, you may say, right? Sankalpa Brahman Kaman Tyaktva, right? And so the root, where does this, where do these intentions come from? He's saying you must examine the samskaras. And how does the yogi do that? Through the practice of dhyan. Remember, there are 8 stages in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahar. So this part that he is referring to Bhagavan is Pratyahar and Dhyan. Because he says, controlling on all sides the senses. How do we withdraw the senses? Yoga Sutra gives technical description of how to withdraw the senses. The process of withdrawing the senses is called Pratyahar. The senses naturally tend to go outside. How do we collect the senses? Through what power can we draw the senses inside? Bring the mind to rest. And on one point, in one location, that is dharana, dhyanam. Keep the attention focused on that one location for a period of time. This is called dhyana. Then samadhi is the ultimate absorption, where the focuser, the point of focus and the act of focusing all dissolve into one. This is samadhi. That is the 4th state, also called turiya. Once that superconscious state, the sleepless sleep, is attained, then when we come back into the normal waking state, one sees the world differently. One begins to understand the purport of the Gita intuitively, without even intellection, right? It's an instantaneous download of these wisdoms through practical experience. So that is what Bhagavan is saying. So, next verse, who would like to read?
I'll go. शनैः शनैरूपरमेद बुद्ध्या धृतिग्रहितया आत्मसंस्थं मनः कृत्वा न किंचिदपि चिन्तयेत्.
Very good. Now Bhagavan is giving the instruction, right? So how to do this? How to do this? How to accomplish the state described in 24? Shanaihi, sanaihi. Slowly, slowly. Uparamet. Uparamet is the verb. Withdraw. Buddhya. How do you withdraw? Through the instrument of the buddhi. With the help of that sattvic buddhi. Dhriti. Grihitaya. Atma samstham manah kritva. Keep the mind anchored in the self, in the Atma. how, and not thinking about anything. Don't na kinchidapi chintaye. Shanaihi uparame buddhya dhriti grihitaya. That buddhi, sattvic buddhi, is strongly, firmly held, resolute intellect is how is translated here. Meaning that one day we may say, okay, today I will do. Next day, some urgent works may come up, and then we may say, okay, well, today is not possible, right? So this dhriti buddhi will tell us, no, you're committed now. You must do this every day, right? So that strong, firm buddhi is guiding us every day, saying, okay, now today, and how to withdraw? Not all at once. Okay, whatever state the mind is in, immediately we cannot accomplish a transformation overnight. That is neither desirable nor feasible in some sense. So, through the great experience of all the rishis and Bhagavan, of course, himself giving us this instruction, Bhagavan says, take it slowly, step by step, do it step by step at a time. Even in Yoga Sutra, it will say, you see, of the various kinds of practice, the kind of practice that is very long, uninterrupted practice, constancy of practice, this is more important than intensity of practice. Undoubtedly, intensity, the more intense it can be, it will be good. Tivra samveganam asannaha, definitely it is said. And yet, of the three, it is the constancy. Because indeed, the very definition of sadhana is given in Yoga Sutra as nairantarya asevita drida bhumi, right? So without interruption, that's the meaning of nairantarya. And it should be satkara asevita, that is with a good attitude. When this practice is established and continued uninterruptedly, that becomes a firm foundation. This is abhyas. That's what we call when we say yoga abhyas, right? So in the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says, how answers to the seeker, well, how should I begin? What should I do? And he says, tat pratishedartham ekatattva abhyasa. In order to bring these taints, to remove these taints, the recommended method is one-pointed practice, abhyas. Then what is this abhyas? And when it is done uninterruptedly for a long period of time, it becomes the firm foundation, that is yoga abhyas. So, naturally, the reason it is being done for a long time uninterruptedly is because this is to be done slowly. Shanaihi uparame. Slowly one must withdraw, not all at once. In the beginning, there will be difficulty. If you sit in dhyanam for, say, how many ever minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes even, initially, a variety of experiences will happen. Some people will first experience a superficial peace and calmness. This is good. But then, as Ramakrishna says, keep going. This might just be the forest of sandalwood, right? Then you go deeper. Then there may be some challenges also. Because as the mind slowly starts to access its deeper and deeper levels of consciousness, there can be a lot of troubles that arise. It's not an easy path. That's why it is called the path of the Veera, the warrior, because this is a very direct approach. And in some sense, one is in the process of burning up various karmas very quickly in this approach. So then some challenges can arise. Therefore, this shanaihi, slowly, taking it gently, withdraw with the help. And then atma samstham manakritva. So naturally then question will arise, how does one make the mind anchored in the self. Right? And that entire, as I said, there's a summary. That entire description, technical details are given in Yoga Sutra. And the main point, na kinchid api chintayet. Do not think of anything else, because yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Right? The absence of these fluctuations in the mind is yoga. Acha. So then, what is the commentary? Gradually, not impetuously, one should withdraw. With the aid of the resolute intellect, perceiving that self alone is all this. This is the supreme injunction concerning yoga. Yesha yogasya paramaha vidhihi. Atma samstham atmani samsthitam atmaiva sarvam na tataha anyat kinchit asti. Ityevam atma samstham manakritva na kinchidapi chintayet. Tatra evam atma samstham manakartum pravritto yogi. Striving thus to anchor the mind in the self is the next suggestion. Next verse, 26.
I can go.
Hmm.
Yato nischarati manaschalamastiram tatasto niyamyaita datmanyeva vasamnayat.
Yeah. The sandhis are a little tricky to break in some of these.
Where to break?
Huh?
How do we know where to break?
Yeah. This is the peculiarity of Sanskrit language. You have to recognize the words as you're reading the compound. So, for instance, manas chanchalam asthiram. So, slowly, as you read more and more, in the context, chanchalam, chanchalam is chanchalman, moving. So, then in some sense, your mind, as your eyes scans it, you break. You know it. It takes practice. Definitely. More you read, more it will come. Acha. Yato nischarati manas chanchalam asthiram tatasto niyamyetat atmanyeva vasham nayet. Niyamyetat. And don't be disheartened, Shiva. When I read a new text, you have seen, sometimes I will also grope occasionally for the right sandhi viched, or the right break. It's but one nice thing is, as you read more and more, you'll intuitively know when you have not broken it correctly. Resi and Pranav have probably seen this, right? There will be some dissatisfaction when you have not broken it correctly. So that somehow naturally arises.
I am in the same boat, Shiva. so don't worry. I'm also trying to learn as much as I can quicker.
Yes, and making the effort is most important, right? Because definitely if you make effort, the success will come. Better to start today than tomorrow. So yataha. This is a typical kind of Sanskrit construction. When, right? Yataha. And it will normally be followed by tataha, then, right? Yataha nischarati. When manas chanchalam asthiram. Asthiram is non-stable, fickle, unsteady. And fickle is chanchalam. When this fickle, unsteady mind, nischarati, moves around, tataha, then, niyamya, controlling or withdrawing, etad, this one, atmani eva, in the self alone, vasham, under the control of that self alone, nayet, one should bring. Okay, I know I have a peculiar way of translating of word by word and pada by pada. Then you can reconstruct it into a nice English sentence, right? But I don't know. Personally, there is a great joy in somehow doing it like that, because it makes sense. That's how the Sanskrit is written. So when the mind moves around, then you must bring it under control. That's all, right? And repeatedly, when this is done, success is guaranteed. Correct? Every day, one sits, makes the effort, sit, bring it under control. It will move, bring it under control. Now, that is a kind of internal sadhana. Slowly what happens? The internal and external sadhanas become indistinguishable. That is, even while going around in the day-to-day activities, this memory of this point will keep coming back again and again. And slowly, slowly, the mind is getting more and more under control of the self, of the Atma. It is resting more and more there, right? And then the state of the three great gurus is permanently resting in the self. That is the desired goal. Okay. Acha, any questions so far? Is it clear? Huh?
I can read the next verse.
Wonderful, Chetas. Go for it.
Prashanta manasam henam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham.
Beautiful. Good job. Only Shanta Rajasam. Shanta Rajasam. But very good.
Thank
You
you.
got the rest of it right. Okay, let us understand it now. Huh? Prashanta Manasam. So, Shanta is, Shanti is, you know what Shanti is? Tejas? Chetas?
Happiness.
Shanti, peace.
Okay.
Peace. Remember we say Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Now this Prashantam. Prashantam is the original peaceful state of the mind. Prashanta Manasam. Hi enam yoginam sukham uttamam. Sukham is happiness. Uttama sukham is the highest happiness or bliss. Bliss supreme is translated here. The bliss supreme accrues to this sinless yogin. That sinless yogin comes from the last pada, akalmasham, whose mind has become still. Prashanta Manasam is one of stilled mind that is resting in the original peace. That's yogis who has that still mind gains the supreme bliss. Upaiti is the verb that goes with gains, accrues to. So, Sukham Uttamam Upaiti. Supreme bliss accrues. To whom? To the yoginam. Who is, and what kind of yogi? Prashanta Manasam yogi. The one whose mind has been stilled in the original peace. And qualifying that, Shanta Rajasam. Rajas suppressed. Brahma Bhuta Akalmasham. Who has become the very form of Brahman. Brahma Bhutam. Akalmasham. And without any sins. Kalmasha is sin. Sin, as I mentioned, its root being ignorance. So, rid completely of ignorance is sinless. Akalmasham. And that which is completely rid of ignorance is that of the very nature of Brahman. So, Brahma Bhutam. And qualifying that, how is that state attained? Remember that earlier Bhagavan gave the point that the root of all this problem, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha, Mahasana, Mahapapman, Jnanina, Nitya Vairinam. That Rajas is the source of this desire and lust. It is the eternal enemy of the wise, right? And it is Mahapapman, the one that is the great creator of sin. And why? Because later he explains, just as dhumena avriyate vaknihi, just as fire is enveloped by smoke, yatha darsho malenacha, just as the mirror is covered with dirt, yathal bena, just as the fetus is enveloped by the amnion, in the same way, this rajas covers the truth. It covers jnanam, right? So when this rajas is made shanti, when it has become like a fire, it has come to burnt out. Then the mind rests in the original peace. Yogi attains the supreme bliss. He becomes Brahman literally, with all these sins becoming non-existent, sinless. To the yogi whose mind has been thoroughly stilled, the best, that is peerless bliss accrues, whose rajas, delusion, other afflictions have dwindled away, who has become Brahman, liberated in life, who is convinced that Brahman alone is all this, and who is sinless, beyond good, evil, and so forth. Akalmasham, adharmat iva adharma adi varjitam, devoid of even the notions of adharma and dharma. Okay, shall we read one more, or is there any question? Again, I can take a little time for comments or questions, or we can read the next one.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
This is in context of the 26th verse.
Mm-hmm.
What is written there? I mean, I can imagine that when I'm meditating, because I'm trying to focus, right?
Mhm.
But there are times when I'm not meditating, I'm not doing anything particular, but after the thought, after many things have been done, I suddenly realize that the mind has been let loose for a while. This there's this sadness because of that. That it has thought a lot, it has worked a lot unnecessarily.
Sure.
Even when someone is not aware that the mind is let loose, how can we do that? What can we do?
Right. It's a very good point. First of all, the wisdom that the mind has been let loose for some period is itself a breakthrough. Correct? That awareness itself is the first step. Correct? How often, many times people don't even think, you could probably recollect a time back in your own life where it was not something that occupied your mind, correct?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that's the zone of progress. Right? The first milestone is we become aware that, oh my gosh, the mind slipped away. That milestone is reached because of doing some sadhana. Right? So then the challenge, you're right. Then the challenge is, okay, now what shall I do? Now, one thing to keep in mind is it is very difficult in this yuga, this day and age, to immediately still the mind. Okay. Therefore, if the mind is going to operate, let us make it operate in some dharmic activities. Okay. So, letting the mind operate in some dharmic activity, practicing sadhana to the extent possible in certain times and bringing it to rest is a guaranteed successful program. Right? So, let us say we all have work to do, correct? So, you get up in the morning, whatever daily activities you do, to the extent that you can incorporate some memory, right? And that is really what our Vedic way of life is. From the morning, the moment you get up, first thing, Karagre Vasate Lakshmi. This is a dharmic activity. It is making you remember God in a Saguna form. God is in Saguna is nothing but the same self, right? So your mind is active, and but it is doing something useful, right? Then you get up, you go. First time we put our foot on the bhumi, prithvi tvaya dhrita loka devi tvam vishnuna dhrita tvam cha dhare mam devi pavitram cha asanam kuru. This immediately reminds you, oh my, this devi, this is bhumi devi, right? Then first thing you do, you'll go wash your face or hands, right? Correct. For that also there is a mantra. Apo hishthaviyo bhutana urje dadatana. There's a Vedic mantra to the waters, right? So similarly, if we really look at the Vedic way of life, every activity was literally made to remind you in this way, right? And it may sound silly in the beginning, But if you do it again and again, it has a tremendous power, right? Now, how you choose to do, it's totally, there is a lot of flexibility and freedom given, correct? If you are not able to memorize all the mantras, just a mental prayer in whatever language you know is appropriate. It is good to leverage what you know already. What you have learned already as a child, don't lose that. Okay, that's already good samskar. Keep that. If you would like to gain something new, definitely with great enthusiasm, proceed. So slowly, by the time from morning till hall of breakfast, everything is done, you can map out your little reminders along the way. Then you go down, sit to work. Normally we say a small prayer before sitting to work. Saraswati Namastubhyam. If you're in the studying profession, you invoke Saraswati, you sit and work. Then you're definitely going to get drawn into whatever, some email. It's natural. There is nothing wrong with that, right? You have to do your work. You pour 100% into that, right? Then you break. Maybe you break for lunch. Again, actually, there is a Madhyanikam mantras. Madhyanikam to wash your legs. To eat, there is Parisheshanam mantra, right? So if you really follow these small things, every time the mind is moving, it is moving in the right direction, right? You finish your day, then you will also find yourself naturally cheerful, happy. Evening, you finish your day, you wash your feet, you sit, you do say some Sayam Sandhya Mantram, Sayam Puja, you do your dhyan morning and evening. That's all. Then life is already now, in spite of that, or based on our past samskaras, the mind will wander. But this is a very, very effective recipe to transform the individual in a very small period of time. In as small as short a time as 6 months, you can start seeing a transformation in the individual. And so for 26, so I would say that you are already reached a milestone where you're becoming aware of the wandering mind. So then this is a way to deepen that. I think there was another question at the same time. Shiva or Mahesh?
Just a follow up. Actually, he brought a really good point. I mean, that is, I think that is also my problem also, our problem. So
Right.
thank you for that. So, the mantras or, the thought to remember in each stage, right? Like starting from waking until, hitting, putting the leg, feet on the ground, and then there is a mantra and every time. So I guess I am looking for, where I can find the compilation of those.
Okay.
Translation, that would be, great. What I am following right now is a prasthAnatrayI stotra
Very good.
by Bhagwan Shankaracharya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Can you share it with us?
Sure. Yeah.
Why don't you do that? Maybe is it very long? Do you want to do it right now or?
No. I don't remember by heart.
Sure. You read it. Yeah. Maybe you can share it with the group. That'll be very nice.
I will share.
So again, anything that in your family you've been taught or you have learned from your parents, that you should keep. That's a gift. You shouldn't throw it away, right? If you'd like to add on to that, whatever, then that is more useful.
Yeah, I think I'm starting from a clean slate. So
that's not a bad thing at all.
anything will be good if you.
Yeah.
So just one comment to following that whenever I do it also this, when the mind wandering happens a lot of times when you do things, sometimes I try to remember this particular sloka actually.
Yeah. This yato nischarati. Wonderful. So you see, this is beautiful, right, Pavan? So we develop our favorite shlokas. That is how we have a personal relationship to the scripture, right? So we don't have to know all of it, but it is that we have connected it to our life, right? In fact, who was I reading? Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi has written, there is a book published called the Bhagavad Gita according to Mahatma Gandhi. And, he first makes an apology. He says, I don't know Sanskrit very well, etc., etc. But he says, the distinguishing feature that I can claim is I have tried to actually live according to these shlokas to the best I understood them, right? That is what makes his translation valuable. Again and again, the practitioner's translation is far superior to the academic's translation. It is not a situation of sitting in a table and pulling out the dictionary and reading it and, in a distant way. And then he actually talks, somebody else also talked about how, maybe he only, that, of course, I've been reading so many different books that sometimes scat pieces. There's a famous British philosopher called David Hume, I think. And, he talks about how in his own language, a kind of conceptualization of Brahman. And then he says, and then of course I thought about it, went home, had a good dinner and went to sleep, right? So that is the difference. The difference is that are we striving to practice the philosophy, or is it an armchair sort of thought, intellectual thing? So that's very wonderful. I think the more you can develop those, so then literally what the Gita becomes is, it becomes a special meaning that, oh, in 2020 when I was treading the path, this was important to me. Then, oh, in 2019 I got a special relationship with these verses. And you don't need all the entire 18 chapters. You just need the ones that you need, right? So that's very wonderful. Any other comments or questions?
So one quick follow-up for the 27th verse. So it's in the verse it mentioned the rajas suppressed, right?
Right.
And becomes Brahman, who has become Brahmans. So is this like with the assumption that the rajas already have already conquered the Thomas, since so that stage,
Yes.
that's why the Thomas is the Rajas is superior to Thomas, and then Sattvas is superior to Rajas, or conquered by that, right?
Yes, that is correct. So the moment we have this physical body, we know that the body has many tamasic aspects to it, right? And so our whole innings here is to deploy, to energize it in such a way through the rajas, and inform that rajas through sattva, right? So you're right. Finally, that kind of aham karomi vanishes, and once is just seen as a play of gunas playing with the gunas, right? So, but you're right. The rajas is what conquers the tamas, overcomes that, and then finally, when purified, sattva, when purified, it dies of itself, and one is left with this gunatita state. Correct. Okay, so maybe we can stop at 27, and next time we will pick up 28, etc., according to sequence that you will, volunteers will pick up on that sequence. And so shall we, any further comments or questions? One very beautiful thing about this is there is so much going on in the world outside, so many opinions and activities and events, that to be able to come and just read the Bhagavad Gita is a great delight, right? Because it reminds us of the changeless within the change. So many changes going on outside, so much activity. And at the root of it is something so simple, right? If we engage, and of course, sometimes we are called to, the discrimination is, when are we called to engage in certain things and when are we not called to engage? That is, each person must develop an intuition for that dharma. But definitely you can see that when there is a lot of agitation in the world outside, there's a lot of people misunderstand. One thing is said, another person sees it from their limited perspective, from their experience, and gets upset. You can see so much of that bouncing around in the news these days. It is really very, very beneficial to read something like the Gita, which speaks of eternal things. And slowly, it helps us also process and understand those agitations and how and where to intervene at the right points only as required of us. That discrimination it gives. So that's another great power of the Gita. Sure. So let me say Shanti Mantram, and then we can disperse till next week. I hope you all have a remaining weekend, wonderful weekend and week ahead.
Shankar, can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. Can you elaborate once again the first of the 5 types of vritti you discussed?
Pramana viparya, pramana. So in the compound it is written as pramana, but praman. Praman is in a Hindi sense it is proof, right?
Yes.
इस चीज का प्रमाण क्या है? Right? That comes from the root in Sanskrit, where praman is actually a valid mean of knowing, a valid way of knowing something.
So
Okay.
everything that we do in science is in that category, right?
You have to be careful. When we enter a philosophy of any of our Indian philosophies, they have very strict rules. It's like a logic, right? So in logic, if you have studied logic, there are rules of logic, right? How can I determine something is a valid way of knowing something, correct? So it's a very fundamental question. There are analogies to science. There are analogies to science. In science, if you publish a scientific paper, then you have to establish that your methodology is valid, correct? Right? So if you do some experiment, you have to say that the reagents were bought and distilled and I did some calibration test and it calibrated correctly, and so I'm establishing. So similarly in yoga, it says these are valid ways of doing things, valid ways of knowing the world, and they are pratyaksha, anumana, agama. Okay. And now again, through the practice of yoga, we'll understand exactly what these words mean. Pratyaksha literally means that which is in front of the eyes, right? Now, which eye, this you have to determine. Pratyaksha, anumana, by inference. And then agama. Agamas are the scriptures. Mm-hmm. These are valid means of knowing. And so, just like in science, so one should not assume that a valid means of knowing in science is a valid means of knowing in yoga. That's what I'm trying to point out. There is an analogy, but it's not an exact equivalence. Yoga is not saying that what you learn in science is a valid means of knowing. But it is saying that in my philosophy, there are certain valid means of knowing. Right? And the first one is my direct experience. Pratyaksha is my direct experience. This is a valid means of knowing. Then there is pramana, anumana, which is analogy with something else. The third one is the scripture. Right? So in time, as your personal experience deepens, it will become in line with what is said in the scripture. So then the way what you think, your intuition will accord directly with what is there in the Gita. So there will be nothing foreign in the Gita's verses. It will become like, oh yeah, of course, this is true, right? So imagine if a person came from another planet and said, in that other planet, the sun didn't rise in the east, right? They come here and they ask you, so where does the sun rise? Of course it rises in the east. Right? This is something that is very intuitively knowledge. You have this knowledge, right? You don't have to, nobody has to prove it to you. You don't have to prove it for yourself, right? In that same way, what is said in the Gita will feel like that. When the pratyaksha and the agamas are in line, right? When there is a discrepancy, then one needs to have the shraddha to accept that the agama is leading us to a higher way of thinking that we have not yet, that maybe is not yet there, right? So the goal is to make it directly experienced. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Surely. Om तच्छम्योरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवीः स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदेः शं चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste everyone. See you next time.